Today I'm going to be removing the steering column, and I'm also going to be replacing the bearing on this, so hopefully you can fix this wobbly steering wheel. First, we are going to disconnect this battery and then wait about 10 minutes before messing with anything in there so that the airbag loses all power. We need to remove this panel underneath the steering wheel. I've got a 7mm socket to remove the 2 screws. And that side is already broken, so we don't need to remove that screw. But I believe that this is just held on by some clips now that need to be popped out. Yep. Got that one. Got that one. So there's 2 clips on each side. There we go. So we got that bottom panel removed. So now we should easily be able to get to this steering column. So we want to unplug everything under here. There's this plug right here. And then this one right here. There's one up here. And then we're going to want to remove this. This lever here just unscrews. And there are some screws under here that need to be removed. I believe there's only 3. All right, I've got all those screws undone, so this should just come apart now. There we go. So there's that piece. It's just those 3 screws. This one is just to access this key switch. And to remove this key switch, we insert our key and turn this to the run position. And then there is a little area here. And you can insert a little Allen wrench in there, push that little, push it in that hole, and then the key switch will just pop right out. Now I'm going to remove this cable right here, our shift indicator. So I'm just going to reach up in here and pry that off very carefully. These are pretty easy to snap. There we go. Got a 5.5mm socket to remove this. There we go. All right, next I'm gonna remove this ignition switch. I've got a T27 to remove these. So now we got this out of the way. So we should have everything disconnected. Now we just gotta remove it from this rod right here. So I'll just loosen one of these so that it can slide off. Probably this one. It's a good idea to take a picture of where the steering wheel is before you remove this, so you know where it should be lined up when you put it back on. I've got a 13mm socket on this. I did have to use a breaker bar to break this loose. That should be loose enough. So this bolt needs to come out completely. All right. Now I think the last step to removing this is to remove these 4 bolts holding this steering column up. Oops. 2 on each side. And these are 13mm as well. A 1/2 inch also fits on these, and these back ones either need a deep well socket, but I had this that I was able to get on this and loosen these up with. All right, I've got those 4 bolt or nuts removed. So you've got to obviously kind of hold this up while you're removing the last one. So now this should drop down. And it looks like there's still some plugs up here that need to be removed. There's that one. I should have removed this turn signal switch while it was still up there, but I mean, there's still plenty of room to do this. But we need to remove this switch. So there's 1 bolt up here and 1 down there. All right, I don't have the right size Allen with me, but I was able to get a T15 hex on there. I think it's probably a size 3 Allen wrench, because a 4 is just a hair too big. All right, we got those bolts out of there. So now that can be removed. So now we should be able to pull this off of that rod. Nope. We're still hooked up back here to our linkage for the transmission. All right, so that just pops off if you pry on it, and then it's also being held in here. There we go. So I pulled that out of there. We're still hooked up to the shifter cable, and there is a little safety pin thing that needs to be pried back on this so that we can lift it up, but it's on the back side. But I'll pry it back with a little flathead screwdriver. It's back on the back side here, it's hard to see. So I'm gonna pry that back and then pry up on this with something. All right, I've got a flathead on this other side. So now hopefully I'm gonna be able to pry this out. There we go, I think it's starting to move. There we go. Whew. All right, so we've got our steering column all all completely disconnected and pulled out. Thanks for watching. God bless.